how's it going?
I'm Danielle.
And I'm Ken, and today we're going to be talking about the Season 3 Lower Decks finale, The Stars at Night. Me and Danielle have, I'd say somewhat recently, over the past couple of years, gotten into Star Trek. And I say years as in maybe the past 2 years?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Sounds accurate.
Very much enjoyed it. I think we both, like different things about it. And I personally was, I don't want to say skeptical about Lower Decks, it being an animated show, but I didn't really know what to expect. And I have to say I've been pleasantly surprised with it overall. It's a lot more than I expected. It does a service to the other series that I have seen, because I have not seen all of them, but it's more than enough to get, the grab bag of references they put in there. But what would you say your opinion of just Lower Decks overall has been, not just this episode in particular?
I thoroughly enjoy Lower Decks. I feel like they're got good pacing. It's not too much before they wrap up a story, I feel. And then there are some things where you kind of have to hang in there to catch it. So I think they do a very good job. I love all of the voice actors. I think they do very well. I like that it's serious, but not super, super serious, but they still handle their shit at the end of the day type of serious. So that does well. So I'm a fan.
Yeah, no, it's great. They do a great job of having a more or less continuous storyline, a dramatic thing that happens while, making the episodes self-contained enough that they're all really funny. And I feel like you could almost watch a good amount of it. You could just hop into it.
Oh, absolutely.
Without having known too much about the story,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is the thing that people love about the next generation and things like that, because they're very, you don't need to have been caught up on that.
Committed for fucking...
Yeah, the 7 seasons.
7 years trying to make it happen. You can just put it.
Well, the cool thing is, if you are, then you do get a lot more of these little references. And like I said, we're still baby Star Trek fans, but we're getting the references, so it's nice. I've enjoyed it, but this finale in particular did prompt us to want to do a review on, just because of how much we enjoyed it. So it's hard to give a review without giving away too many spoilers. There will be spoilers, for most of this video. To start off, I would say that it does a great job of bringing in things from pretty much every season so far,
Mm-hmm.
and it pays off things that you didn't even know were going to get paid off, that I didn't even really need to be paid off for. It's like I would have been happy with 1, 2, and then it did 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
So that was pretty nice. And then I guess I'll give, I don't know what system I'm going to be using here, but I'll give a final score after I do the spoilers part of the review. But I would say I just very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, my tidbit would be tear jerker.
Yes.
Will cry several times, so be prepared to sob. That's my spoiler. Because I'm thinking of all of my favorite parts from this episode. And
yeah, we're both I think the only reason we didn't is because we didn't want the other one to see each other.
Yeah, very much
baby
so.
About it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was that's a good warning. That's a good fair warning. So let's just dive into it. It pretty much picks up from the end of the last episode, which took care of some interesting things. It got Beckett, who is, you might call the protagonist, one of the main people, the daughter of D-Town, who we originally saw in Harmon Quest as D-Town, and who landed this role that was perfect for her as Beckett, the overachieving but not ranking, Starfleet cadet, whatever, ensign, whatever her possession is now. She incorrectly got the blame for a terrible news report that the Cerritos was given, and she was the only one who went to bat for them, which they didn't realize till the end. So she decided to take up I guess you would call like a spelunker or just like a cave robbing, bandit type self-employed person who she had met, I believe when they were on some sort of outing or something.
They were doing...
it was like a career fair.
It was. Yeah, and she used them as a distraction. So steal some stuff out of the museum.
And she's kind of like not really a Robin Hood, like rob from the rich, give to the poor thing, but sort of like reappropriating, historical articles or historical artifacts that might have been stolen from the culture. So that's this individual who Beckett kind of almost got not fully seduced by, not in a romantic sense, but in like a romance of adventure sense. But eventually, when she had this opportunity, and she was going to be out of Starfleet, I guess she took her up on her offer, and so they're off and having their adventures. Meanwhile, the captain, Freeman, she's dealing with the consequences of the end of the last episode. I believe it's the same episode where they had the Project Swing By that went horribly, and it wasn't like the worst possible thing, but there is a admiral, I believe, Buenamigos, who is using this as an opportunity to essentially get his pet project funded and get these AI ships taking over control of what would be the Cali class. They're basically going to replace all these Cali class,
Texas class.
Yeah, with the Texas class, and it's completely AI powered. And his rationale is like, the episode essentially starts with her being chewed out. It seems like it's like a bunch of admirals around a round table.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much saying like, this is this is why this should happen, and we need to. He's actually the one who suggested, I think, retiring.
He does.
So at that point, I don't know if it's immediately they have the second contact race.
No, she pretty much tells Buenamigo that he's not. She didn't know he was in charge.
Right.
So she wanted to challenge him to a race. So it was some time between the conversation because he offered her the spot to be the captain of Texas class.
Yeah.
Which would essentially be like desk duty, and she's like, "No, I'm gonna get my way."
Yeah.
And so they go through they actually agree, and the only reason they agree is because because he was, what's his name? Buenamigo was acting like he was like the head bitch in charge, like he was the top, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know you ran Starfleet."
Yeah,
and
she used the arrogance of the other admirals to her advantage to get the second contact race, which she does later say she made up on the spot.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, I'm going to be utilizing this article and screenshots from it, and probably some of the breakdown from this website, geekgirlauthority.com. I will link it in the description. But I was unable to have Paramount streaming at the same time. It seems they blocked that, so thank you for these screenshots. It seems that the news of the repurposing of the Texas class taking over the Cali class makes its way through the decks pretty quickly. Was it the Gossip King or whatever?
Yes.
He's like never wrong.
Never wrong.
Yeah. Tendy says like, "Oh, those are some facts that come from him." And then meanwhile, Rutherford over here is like freaking obsessed. With the code.
And the Texas class.
Yeah, and it's something about it like really intrigues him. This is also the build up to the first B plot. Yeah, essentially. Well, I guess there's only one B plot, but the first subplot, the A plot essentially being the Texas class trying to take over for the Cali class. Here, in their gallows type of humor, trying to make the best of it, Boimler does impersonations of all of the ways that the different bridge crew would act with this news, and I think he does like, was it ransom, like, if I don't get to work out, I'm going to go back to Barcelona. And then he does Shax, and he comes in, and sees him impersonating him, and I think he's actually saying that, like, the first thing I would do is I eject
the warp core, yeah.
And which is what's the word I'd say? It is foreshadowing. Thank you. But he's distraught because, of course, he's right behind him. He's like, "Is that how you think I sound?"
He's like a big baby, and he looked so hurt, and the tears in his eyes.
You feel it
when he sees them. He was like, "I was gonna ask you to fix my train."
He was looking for Boimler.
Aww. And it's like he shitted on his friend, but Boimler immediately felt bad and tried to run after him, but he was not having none of that.
No, yeah, Boimler was distraught, and like the first thing he says is like, "I can't let him go without." I can't leave here knowing that a senior class officer, which kind of speaks to Boimler's like,
yes.
I don't even know what you would call it. Like he's just such a goody. Like he doesn't want like he thinks of rank over people. What happened to
Bold Boimler?
Yeah, bold Boimler. He's in there somewhere. I think it's all a big stew.
Yeah.
But that is the B plot essentially. Is this rift that happens because unfortunately Boimler. Yeah, he didn't know that he was right behind him. Meanwhile, Tendi makes the comment that Mariner must be like being miserable right now because she's not with Starfleet, and obviously the lead up, the punchline is that no, she's having a freaking great time. She's running away from these Ferengi. She's playing. Pew, pew. She's basically like playing like Raiders of the Lost Ark and like Indiana Jones and stuff.
Very much so.
I enjoyed that scene. I don't know. What do you think of the free Beckett?
I love the free Beckett. But the thing about Beckett is she, as much as she bitches about Starfleet, she still likes the fact that there are rules. She just likes, I feel like, finding a better solution or a little one that's kind of been in the rules a little bit, but it's like once you wrap it all up in a bow, you're like, oh, but you did save us from this and this. And I think now her being free, it's kind of boring to her. I feel like she doesn't really have the risks that she's taking.
Yeah, the stakes are different. Yeah, their friends are there too.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty boring because she's not just a Tomb Raider. She's not just a pirate and a thief in the night. Like she likes being in Starfleet. She's a Starfleeter, even if she doesn't want to believe.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, is that she wants some rules, but she wants to be able to bend some of them. And I don't think she's as much into that as she would need to be for like Section 13 or something. I don't think she's at that level. But what you were talking about reminded me of, I forget which episode it is, but there's one where she meets the Klingon and they have like some, they go back. Uh-huh. Yeah, and it's like, I think that's like a perfect example of like, she goes within like the Starfleet rules, but then like she's like she's completely like Boimler's like horrified at how they're acting, and I don't know, but you kind of have to do that, especially if you're doing these diplomatic missions and people have different types of customs and they're expected, and will look at you as inferior or like not to be respected if you're just going through like the the typical Starfleet greetings and whatnot. So yeah, I love Free Beckett as well, but I definitely. Yeah, you get the vibe that well, you find out why she's feeling that. So Beckett isn't miserable. She's having a great time. She's running around shooting Ferengi. We find out that she's with the woman that we said her name is Aberdeen, and she's basically Aberdeen is saying like, hey, I'm glad you're like living your best life. You focus on the missions, I'll focus on the money, which is like probably not the right thing to say to someone who's as sharp as Beckett.
Yeah,
like
wait, what? What do you mean?
But a light goes off in her head. They're on a planet, I think, to return this artifact, and Beckett says, no, I'll wait in the ship. You go do your thing. She says, pick me up a slushie.
Yeah. And
then when Aberdeen leaves, of course, Beckett says, all right, this is my opportunity to find out, what the heck is going on, who's funding all this, because when she asked, like, what's the, what's the funding for all this, she was given a vague answer, and she begins her research into the backstory. Aberdeen walks in, and she's like, I forgot my slushy punch card, and she notices, this is super adorable. And she notices what's going on, and she's like, oh, so you had enough energy to snoop on me. And Beckett's like, well, you're being pretty shady. Mm-hmm. This is you could be anybody. What's the real deal here? Aberdeen implores her to look further, and then it turns out she finds out that
It's fucking Picard.
it's Admiral Picard is funding it. So it's actually like
the top of the top.
Yeah.
It's like the most Star Trek stamped approved side mission possible, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely on the up and up, and highly moral, essentially. Like there's no moral gray area. All of that, like chin stroking that Becca was doing is kind of like there's a cold water put on that fire, and she's visibly like Aberdeen's like, oh, you wanted to find something suspicious? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's why I said keep looking.
Was distraught.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I thought it was like, all sorts of like nefarious things, or it could have been like this plot or that plot. And the light goes off in my head, like, I think I actually want to I think I was looking for a reason to go back to Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I was hoping it was nefarious, and I think I've made some self-realizations. And then Aberdeen says, like, I don't know why you want to go with them. Look at what's going on the TV. On the TV, it's showing essentially
them being destroyed.
Well, when the text, I'm realizing there was so much that we skipped with the A plot because backing up a little bit.
Yeah. We didn't.
The Texas class is challenged by the Cali class to do a quote unquote second contact mission. That is essentially just something that Freeman made up, but it's something to show that you need a human touch, or a sentient touch, a non-AI touch, non-discriminant to any aliens, any of them would be better than just an AI. Which, and I said to you earlier, like it was a little weird that all the admirals like accepted that right away, that they were taking AI after like half the plots of like Star Trek going bad. It's like because of an AI, but you come to find that they're looking at these episodes like the Bad News Report, and they're looking at the Project Swing By and all these like errors and whatnot. So they're drawing from what will turn out to be faulty information. But Buenamigos agrees to do the second contact race, and they basically give them a head start. The idea is basically just land on these planets and like give them water and like the fixins that they need. I think some planets are barren, some planets don't. Yeah. Like I'm not even gonna sit here and lie to you that I even know what second contact. I mean, first contact is pretty obvious, like from the name. But
I'm gonna say, and this could be completely ignorant. This could be completely wrong. I think second contact is after they decided to join the Federation or become a part of Starfleet. I feel like that's when now they get some of like our technologies and like our food supplies.
That's what it seemed like.
Replicators or like fixing.
They were practicing. You saw these scenes of like the aliens that they were coming to practicing.
Their group.
Yeah, when they're come there and like what's his name? The engineering lead, Billups. It might be Billups. Basically, they're in the middle of this race. Yeah, so Billups. I was like, yeah, thanks, yeah, good for you, like, nice to meet you. But here's yourself, because it's basically the AI ships against the Cali ship. So, what was your thoughts on that race? What emotions were you feeling?
When that race happened, I was really rooting for them, but we also hadn't seen everything that the AI ship could do. Mm-hmm. So I felt that the guy was like, he was being cocky for a reason. Yeah. I felt like it wasn't, gotcha. Yeah, like it wasn't at all like I know he hadn't put them to one of those type of races before, but you could tell that he knew he had some shit in his back pocket that would have made that possible for them. So I'm like, fuck yeah, they got this head start, they're going, and then like as they're getting ready to like wrap up their shit, this man teleports like a fully functional like thing, a whole piece, like a whole, what do you call it? What was it? Like a whole.
It was like some fixture of some kind. Looked like it maybe did some sort of engineering thing.
It's like literally what they were down there from the Cerritos, what they were like building.
She said a prefabricated building.
There we go. Yeah, he like dropped it down. The ship didn't have to land.
Yeah. Yeah, and skipping through these, here they're pleading for the second contact race. Everybody gets pumped for it. You know, they give like little pep talks. And here he's pretty much being cocky because he realizes, you know, he feels like he feels like he's gonna win, and he's pretty much got it in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe he does at that point. So what we don't see is essentially Tendi. She's on the planet, and
she picks up a signal on her scanner, and she halts she goes, "Hey guys, I think we need to stop. I could be detecting life, sentient life, and a part of one of the rules that they have to follow is if you must make sure that they're sentient or not."
So that could have been like second contact to a planet that they thought had no life.
Exactly.
So maybe that is kind of how it fits in the scheme.
So once they did that halted it, which they lost their lead against the AI ship because the AI ship just sent its shits down and just was like out. And there was only one more planet left.
But there's this particular element to this one.
Yeah, this one only phases in for about an hour or so every year. And once it's gone, it's gone. So there was a very, 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 very brief. But because of the Prime Directive, they have to. Like, the Cerritos had to stop and make sure that wasn't life there. And that caused them... They missed the phase. Yeah, they missed the phasing of the planet, and by the time they appeared, the planet was disappearing. And it's like, fuck. And then so I was extremely bummed for them. I was like, fuck. I was like, this man done fucking found his way. He done fucking made it. Everybody's just all sad and gloomy everybody in the bar. And Tendi and Rutherford and Boimler
yeah, they're all
are sitting at the bar talking. And
they're trying to cheer up. Console because she feels terrible about
They're trying to cheer up Tendi because she was the one that noticed it. Exactly. And they're like, "Oh, it's okay. You did the right thing." And so then Tendi goes, "Well, if I did the right thing, then why didn't the Lidos stop?"
Which is the Texas class ship.
Yeah.
I haven't said the name at all, so that's good.
I thought I destroyed that.
That was perfect. Cool. That's the Alita.
So, which is something that if the Alito wasn't ran by an AI, it would have known not to ignore that directive that they have, because at the end of the day, because even the captain goes, "Oh, all right,
yeah,
do it, but just hurry up," or something.
Yeah, she's like, of course, but make it quick.
Yeah, there we go.
She's very much being like a good captain.
Yeah,
she's like,
because
she wasn't even mad. She's like, damn.
They had to do the right thing.
It's like leave no man behind type situation. Like
pretty much, that's how it's
like,
all
right,
yeah. And so it's like that other ship was like, pew, out of there, and it's like,
Exactly. So then Freeman heard her say that. Stopped and like hugged her. Yeah. It was like, "Oh my goodness, you're just safe there," or something. So then she goes in her office. This is Freeman. Captain Freeman. This is her walking to the office. She had a reason to be smug now.
And she had this is her iPad that makes the calls.
Yeah.
And she calls up Mr. Bonamigos, who's, with his cigar and looking all smug.
It is worth noting that at this point, there has been Rutherford throughout the entire episode looking at this iPad because he feels like the code from the Texas class is suspicious.
Yes.
And it is right then that he notices that he recognizes the code.
Mm-hmm.
So you can fill in those two together, but that's what he's about to run up.
Yeah. So he notices that it is his code from his, what was it, Bingsley? Badgie? There we go.
Yeah. There was a previous episode where he had a holodeck sim just go completely wrong, and the AI trapped them in it and just was becoming lethal and whatnot. And he recognized the code as being similar to the one in the Texas class. And then he also got some other revelations because his old personality got wiped a while ago, and there was this episode where he fought his old personality, and his old personality kind of almost like just gave him
it's like
you did it, But there was always a shadowy figure.
Yes, and anytime anything went wrong with his implant, he was always having these visions that weren't really, or flashbacks of these things, and he can hear
like data memory.
Yeah, pretty much. And you can hear someone saying, like, delete it all.
Yeah.
And it never filled us in on who the person was. And then, like, dun dun dun, it is Buen Amigos.
Yeah. So you see this as Freeman's realizing she has this up on him about him skipping the sentient life check.
Yes. So as she's like pretty much like because your ship didn't remember to check for this and it ignored it.
And he's like,
that is not safe. And this proves this.
Yeah.
So then he goes, oh. And at the very moment Rutherford's running in, he's like, I have to show you this. And she's like, I'm busy. He was like, that is my code. This is, and then Bonamigo's like, Rutherford. And then he's like, yeah, I figured it out. And then
Bonamigo just starts saying his entire evil plot.
Yeah.
Like an evil villain, like Dr. Evil. Yeah, but he lays it all out.
Yeah. From start to finish.
And so that's when he attacks, essentially. He's like, I'll just say that you attacked us.
And that happened right. Rutherford literally had just said that the AI is emotional input is messed up. It's all screwed up. It's faulty. It's corrupted.
So he told him,
and literally just told him. And the first thing Buen Amigo does is go independent control. It's like what?
And the confirmation message did not sound very reassuring. No. Like it obviously sounded very like corrupt. Yeah. All the lights go dark red, which is obviously like the most reassuring color for your AI to be
evil.
And then when he sicks them like a dog, the Alitos onto the Cerritos, no response the first time. The second time he basically says like, I don't take commands from you anymore.
Yeah. And
I think he just starts attacking the base, and I believe that's what is here in the picture to the right is the base that he starts attacking.
He's attacking in the back. Because I think that's the Cerritos watching.
I believe that sounds correct. And so this is the base. I forget what it's called, but I know it was getting shot to heck. And then now we finally get back to what we were talking about. She says, oh, are you sure you want to join them? Look what's going on. There's this crazy attack. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much there.
Yeah. So we're caught up on those.
She's basically like, no, I have to help them. Yeah. She goes to help them. There's a point where there's 2 more Texas-class ships.
He calls them up as soon as they
notice turns them
that. On. Mm-hmm. Once because Captain Freeman, she like almost like calls them. But there's a
communication set up.
There we go. Sends out communication, and she's like, I have your original programmer.
Oh, yeah. So she sends out communications to all the other ships to call for help, but she's calling them in general to like, fuck with this.
And then what is the ship's line? He says something to the...
He keeps saying like, I will burn you in a fire or something, or I'll burn your heart in fire or some shit. Some super emo line that you would imagine that like a sentient ship would come up with, that doesn't have stable code. And Tendi did say something earlier.
Daddy issues.
The AI, an AI ship can't have daddy issues. Yeah. Because there's multiple layers of it. Because I guess the Bonamigos is the father, but then also Rutherford's the father because he coded it, and it was Bonamigos' project as well. So yeah, I can see why the ship would be confused. It's probably what is going on?
What the fuck? Who's the father?
But yeah, Freeman does say that, and then I believe the goal just becomes for Freeman to have the 3 ships now. Because they're killing people.
Fucking up that whole kind of sort of Deep Space Nine, but not Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, this base was just getting destroyed essentially. And there's lots of people dying. So Freeman says look, let's get these 3 ships out of here. It's better.
They go to max warp.
Mm-hmm, they go to max warp. The 3 ships are following them, and then Freeman's Freeman's I need plans, people. She's on the bridge.
Plans. And she's marching around and listening to everybody, and everybody's throwing out plans.
They're almost talking over everyone's.
Yeah, you can't pull out anything.
Yeah,
Boimler's like, "What did you say?"
Yeah, shut up
and listen to Jax. And they're like, "Excuse me, Boimler. He's just saying the same thing he always said. Eject the warp core." And then it's like, "That's
brilliant.
That's brilliant." And then at that very moment, he's like, "Oh, really?" And you're like, "Yeah, calm down." go on over there. So he gets and he gives handshakes and high fives.
It's like, it reminded me of like when somebody wins like a 2,000 meter race or something.
Yes, he definitely was doing his victory lap.
Yeah.
He was on his way out. They even let him like go down the engineering and everything. So it wasn't just like using his plan. They were literally letting him go and press the button. And if you've watched Lower Decks at any point and you notice his character, he always says that's always his option.
Yeah, to
that's his go-to. He doesn't give a fuck what it is. Eject the warp core. Eject the warp core. That's his response for everything. So he finally got to do it. And if you guys remember, Boimler had mocked him earlier, and he just had been trying to be friends, and it just wasn't happening. They kept bumping heads, and he kept getting his feelings hurt. So he stood up for him and got him this opportunity to eject.
Which like meant the world for him, essentially. It was
tears.
Like, yeah. Oh, for sure. So they eject the warp core, and two of the ships go down, I think. But it's only
not the main ship.
Yeah, only one ship is left, and then they're out of warp. So they're just there. And then Freeman says, "We need to abandon ship." Yeah, but then she hears,
"Cancel the delay that order."
Delay that order, or delay it.
And it's her and the young lady whose name I can't remember. Aberdeen.
Yeah.
They're together in their ship, and then she's like, "Beckett, you gotta get out of here." Or Mariner. She probably called her Mariner.
Yeah.
Mariner, you gotta get out of here. Because, like, it's one ship. She was like, "I called for backup." Tear jerker alert, okay?
Yeah.
The backup.
Like every state.
It's every single California class ship.
Yeah. And then it's all of the callbacks to previous episodes.
Yeah.
Like they had ones that weren't in previous episodes, for sure. But as we're reading this article from Geek Girl Authority, it was listing every single one. And it was at least like out of, I think, 12.5 ships, there had to be around 20 ships, at least half of them or more were references from previous episodes.
Yeah.
So, and they kind of started coming in order.
Coming in order, yeah. Uh-huh.
So it was pretty great. Yeah.
And they let Boimler like run them off. Oh, that's this clip, the San Diego, this one, this one, and it was great. It was nice. So they all came to protect because the Texas class AIs were going to put them out of work. Yeah. Essentially, they weren't going to have jobs. They weren't going to be a part of Starfleet, or they were going to get reassigned, and no one wants to do that. Yeah. Especially if you're the captain, that's your ship, and you want to do that. So they pretty much came and saved the day. Shitted on fucking Boinamigo, who I don't know if he's dead or not because they didn't really. It was
vague, but it seemed like
show it. So he might be coming back.
I don't know if he survived that. When the Texas class started attacking that base, it seemed like he was one of the first ones taken out, but they didn't fully show it.
Yeah. So, and they do come back.
They do. They exocomps and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're saved.
Yeah.
They're saved. You're holding back tears. Everything, and then then you have the beautiful the moments. Everyone's back. Everyone's back in. And celebrating. Mm-hmm. One of the reunions is, of course, between Boimler and Shax. Yeah. Because he's making sure he's like, "You're not mad at me?" Yeah. This is the greatest. He's like, "So you're my bridge buddy?" He's like, "Yeah, you're my baby bear. It's super cute." Beckett comes back. That's another one of the ones, like, you're not holding it back yet, but, Boimler was like, are we really cool? Or, do I keep apologizing? Like, no, we're cool. But then she talks to the mom, and then you're kind of holding back tears a little bit more, because I don't know, it's cute. They enjoy working together. And so she said, like, "I'm coming back, but I'm not, She's like, "Oh, so you want to be a captain now?"
It's like, I ain't saying all that.
Yeah, she's not trying to get started in that direction, but she's coming back. It's cool. You see everybody from all the previous episodes.
Hanging out at the bar.
And then at the end, they're like all chanting Cali class. And I don't know if it's intentional, but with this show it probably is. It sounds like the Lower Decks chant. We've got this young Vulcan lady who Tendi is stoked because she's now
study buddy.
Yeah, basically. So it's super cute. It sets up some things. There was a post-credit scene that we didn't even know about until we were reading this article.
Yeah.
It looks like some unknown figure is beaming up the remains of Rutherford's old implant, which looks to still have the glitchy, badgy AI, which was the AI that started the Texas class.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like left out there for season 4. I feel like that was a long ass recap. I feel like some editing will be done, but it was fun. So now, if it wasn't obvious, I'll just give mine real quick. Like I said, I'd probably give this, just because I'd probably give it somewhere between an 8.5 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10, honestly. Like, that's my personal one. And I wouldn't just give that out flippantly. And actually the episode before this, I didn't know if there's 9 or 10. It was really good, but it was also like, I didn't understand some of the decisions they made, but then it made a lot more sense. And the amount of things that and the fact that, we didn't really cover it, but Buenamigos have been setting them up all along in multiple episodes. I guess he was responsible for the DS9 visit.
He's like the he's pretty much her protector. He's like the villain. He's the enemy. The big bad essentially was Buenamigos because, that actually speaks to some stuff we said in the beginning where it's like you didn't need to know that for the Deep Space Nine episode, but they did a great job of looping it into kind of a macro story. So it, like I said, because of those reasons, it makes more sense that the admirals were keener to more quickly be like, okay, we'll go to the Texas class because there's been these issues and these issues. But yeah, the way that it wrapped everything up, as far as, or tied everything together, I should say, I liked. And I thought there was good amount of character growth. I don't know. It's and then maybe that comes from my expectations aren't here, but it's they've made me care about these characters, and then they put them in interesting positions, and then they actually have stakes. There's points where I'm like, oh shit, did this actually happen? Is this person gonna be okay? So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd say 8.5 to 9 out of 10. Yeah, I concur. I think that's strong. Anything that can make me laugh and sob several times in one episode, not even just talking about the entire season, just the one episode took me through 30,000 emotions, and then I was so happy for everyone. And so yeah, I know I'm gonna go with a solid 9.
Hell yeah! Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's our
we'll round
fucking
up.
view on this and that, baby.
Fuck yeah! Thanks for watching, and let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you enjoyed this, what you're looking forward to in season 4, and we will talk to you again real soon.